So today I'm going to do a small abstract onto a board that's going to go into a floating frame. So I'm starting with some loose charcoal scribbles just to put something down. There's Misty always wanting to get involved. I've just bought some golden thick body acrylic paints, and I'm going to use those in the very last layer to make sure I get the vivid brightness that I'm looking for. And I also have some oil pastels that I'm going to use on the in-between stage. So I'm starting off just laying down some shapes, laying down some scribbles, none of which will be seen later on. It's just to provide a foundation for the painting. So I'm putting darks on first. I've got some amazing metallic purple there that I've bought. I think it came from Temu. Looked like it was going to be a great big tube. Turned out to be a tiny one, about an inch high. But I like the sheen, so I'm putting this down on the base layer. Again, none of it will be seen in the last layer, but I just like it. I'm just going to build up in layers, and I'm going to do dark layers, pale layers, hot layers, cold layers on top of each other. Let each dry in between, and then build up that way. And it's an intuitive painting. I have absolutely no idea how it's going to turn out. I'm doing it for therapeutic reasons. So that layer's dried now, it's gone very dark. And the next layer is going to be a cold layer. And when I say cold, I mean it's going to be the blues, the greens, the greys on the spectrum. If you imagine a colour wheel, it's all one side of that colour wheel. So the blues and the greens and the greys are on one side, and the red and the oranges and the yellows are on the other side. And then somewhere in between are the browns and the purples. And browns and purples can be hot or cold. Same with the yellow. Yellow can be hot or cold. If it's an acid lemon yellow, it's got a lot of green in it. If the brown has lots of yellow or orange or red in it, it's a warm brown. If it has greens in it, it's cold brown. And the same with the purple. If a purple leans towards the red end of the spectrum, it's a hot purple. And if it leans towards the blue end of the spectrum, it's cold purple. So when you apply your paint, it's good to think about whether things are hot or cold, because cold colours, like the ones I'm applying now, are good for backgrounds because they sink backwards, whereas hot colours like reds, orange, yellows, the really bright, vivid colours of the sun, they jump forwards towards the viewer. So you can place things in specific areas as to how you want people to view your picture. Whatever you put was the brightest, most vivid oranges, reds and yellows will be the things that are the most noticeable. So I'm building up a layer of cold colours for the background. I don't know how many layers I'm going to paint. It just happens. I just keep painting until it feels right. Now I'm just spraying it a little bit, and I'm going to let these blend slightly and then leave it to dry. And that should be a nice blended cold colour background with little bits of black peeping through. Just taking away some of the excess liquid. I've got hay fever at the moment, which is why I've got a croaky voice. And so there you go, that layer's now dried. I think it's dry. I'm just checking, taking off a bit of surplus, because I don't really want, if I'm going to put a layer of hot colours on, I don't really want the cold colours to still be wet, because if you combine hot and cold colours, they just go brown. If you combine different colours from opposite ends of the spectrum, you just get a muddy mess. And sometimes a muddy mess is great. Other times you want the vibrancy of the colours. So when I get towards the middle of this painting, I'll probably go for a bit of a muddy mess, because I'll keep painting with a wet brush. But to begin with, I want to separate out some of these lovely colours. Again, I'm using some metallic colours here because I want that sheen to shine through in the top layer. It might or it might not, depending on how many layers I put on. All of this paint could disappear. So I've got no pattern at all in mind. I'm just placing colours as I feel they should be intuitively. So that's why it's called intuitive painting. A sort of expressive, abstract expressive painting. It's expressive because you just express yourself through colour. You just feel the colours, you let them guide you, and you place a colour and you think, does it go there? What could I put next to it? What could I put near it? What could I blend it with to express how I'm feeling at the moment? So these hot colours contrast very nicely with the cold colours underneath them. I'm enjoying this layer. It's a beautiful combination of some very lovely hot colours. And then once that's on, I'm going to leave it to dry again. A bit of water to blend and let it move around the board. And then that's dried. Going a little bit messy in the middle. So do you think I should use the spray, or should I leave it without the spray? That's the question. The next one I might try it without the spray, see what happens. This one's going to have a lot of spray. It's going to have a lot of spray in it because I want that blended effect. So putting some white in now to brighten it up a little. So we've had dark, then we've had cold colours, then we've had hot colours. Now I'm going in white, and I'm picking up some of the colours from around it. They're not quite dry yet, and that's creating a nice harmonious effect. And again, this might not be seen in the final layer, none of it, which is a shame because there are some beautiful colours and I'm enjoying the mark making. Now coming in with a bit of black contrast again. I like the juxtaposition of colours and shapes and marks, and by juxtaposition I mean contrast, where you put something next to each other that are very contrasting and different. So black and white, squares and circles, geometric shapes against little tiny patterns, large areas of blocks of colour against tight little detail. So I'm going in on top of the hot layer with another cold layer. Just building up the layers. Sometimes it goes on for years. I've got a stack of paintings in the attic and in the cupboards, and every now and again I'll get one out and I'll think, no, it's not finished, and I'll add another layer and I'll keep going until I think it's finished, and then I'll put it in a frame. But if I don't think they're finished, I stack them up and wait for the inspiration. I have some on large pieces of raw canvas as well, and I take those out into the garden and paint them in the garden. And I bring them out every now and again whenever there's a hot day. Sometimes I pin them to the back garden shed. But I'm moving house this month, so I won't be able to do that anymore. I don't want to ruin a beautiful shed at the new house. I'm going to have to actually pin it to a board and put it on an easel or work on it flat on the ground. But this one's a tiny one, a little tiny painting. It's now getting quite busy, so I'm using dark blues. And intuitive art is basically make it up as you go along. And that's what I'm doing. And I turn it upside down and then turn it back again on its side. And I just check it from all angles to see if there's a good flow. I'm trying to link pieces together, link areas of it together with this flowing shape. Sort of little river running through it. So it started off with blobs. I'm now getting more identifiable shapes. I've got the circles, and there's very definite intention there. But each time I apply a new colour, I look at it with intention and think, right, where would this colour fit? Or is this colour appropriate at all? So I've got some icy blues and blue whites. Now I've got the purples. Purples, this one's verging on being a warm colour, but I think it's predominantly blues, so it fits with this layer. I'm just playing with shapes at the moment. I thoroughly enjoy myself when I'm painting. I just sink into the zone, and when I've been out with people and we take canvases to beauty spots and things and we do some painting, and my friends go, "You just go into a zone." You, I don't talk an awful lot. I just sit there painting, and they find that, some of them find that quite strange, and others of them get into the zone too, and it's very calming. It's a very therapeutic way of relaxing the mind. And I'm not thinking of anything in particular apart from colour placement. Colour placement, shape and flow. The flow of the brush. I'm starting to thicken up the paint now for these upper layers. Turn it round again. It looks so different from each side. And again, it's like, how do you know which, with an abstract painting, which way is up, which way is down? At some point, I'll put a frame around it. It's going to have a floating frame, this one. At some point, I'll have a frame around it, and I'll need to decide which way up it is. Is it horizontal? Is it vertical? So I keep turning it round to check that it pleases the eye from all angles. I quite like it at this stage. It's very vibrant and bright. Oh, the back fell off my phone there. That was surprising. I have a very old phone, and I've got a new one waiting in the cupboard. It's been there for 3 years, but I'm waiting for this one to die, which it seems to be doing at the moment, the back falling off it. And everybody's saying, why don't you use the new one while it's new? And I thought, well, not, this one works fine, apart from the back falling off. This one works fine. I may as well just carry on using this. Why swap phones over and, you know, contribute to landfill if this one's fine? The other one was an upgrade on my contract, and I've just put it in the cupboard and I'm just waiting for the day that I need it. And then when I do, I'll swap over. But in the meantime, I'm using this one, and I'm quite happy with it. Bringing in some contrast again. Again, it's that juxtaposition of shapes. I really like it at this stage. I like the flowing river going through it. And I like the greens. It's like foliage and flowers and nature. But something made me carry on. And I think it's going to look very different by the end. But I just choose little areas of it and just build on those areas. And I don't even know what guides me. It's just such an intuitive thing. You just think, there, put it there, not here, there. And then put this one over there. And it's just a feeling that builds as you continue. So I'm getting that contrast there now. Trying to contrast against the yellows with the black. So you could stop there and you have an abstract painting, but I wanted to carry on. One, for therapeutic reasons, I was enjoying the painting, and two, because to me it didn't seem finished. I felt there was a lot to add. So again, that juxtaposition of some very large shapes, blocks of colour, with some very bitty little contrasting areas. And the beauty of acrylic paint is if something doesn't work, you can just go over it once it's dry with another colour. I love painting in oils, but I can't at the moment because the oils have all been transported to my new house where I'm moving this month. So I'm left with a few small bits of art equipment. So I have my pastels. I have. I actually bought the set of paints. I'm supposed to be emptying the house, and I paid, I think it was £72 for that little tiny set of tubes of paint from Golden. They're very expensive, but they're very lovely paints. So here's one now. £72, little tiny tubes, but they're lush. They I thought they'd be bigger actually for that price, but no, and it wasn't even from Temu. It was, but paints are very expensive. That's why some people charge quite a bit for their paintings, because when you layer up, you don't even see the lower layers, but you're spending money on every brushstroke. But to me, it's therapy. It's like spending money on a spa day or something, doing a painting. So I'm using my oil pastels now. Going in with some neutrals for this middle section. So I've got a grey. And then they blend nicely with the finger. You can get water-soluble pastels as well. I have some water-soluble ones where you can use a brush and you can get a beautiful watercolour effect, whereas these are more for contrast. They'll repel the water when I put the next layer of paint down, and that will help create that contrast and texture. Getting into some really bright colours here, and I think by the end they've all gone. They've all disappeared under the upper layers. But I do like this section at the moment. I like the vibrancy. It reminds me of like South America or a holiday destination where it's hot and quite exotic. And I'm thinking maybe this was the final stage, but it doesn't become that. Sometimes you can get carried away with the painting, and I do that often, and I end up with a muddy mess, and then I leave it, and then 6 months later I'll bring it out and turn it into something completely different, and I just keep going until I'm happy. I like these bits. These are my favourite bits of the painting, the big red splotches. So I slowed this painting down because I got a request from someone who'd viewed one of my previous paintings, and they said, please don't speed it up too much. I mean, I have to speed it up because my storage on my phone is pretty non-existent because it's such an old phone. And it says, create some storage. And the only thing I could do, because I'd emptied the phone of everything, the only thing I could do was to speed it up. So it's times two. So it's almost in real time, but times two. And I always get into my fingers. When I'm really enjoying the painting process, in goes the hand. Sometimes if it's a large painting, I'll use the side of my hand, the fleshy part underneath my little finger, and I'll put that in and use it as a smoothing tool. And if it's a small painting like this, I put the end of my fingers in there, and now I've got a palette knife. Getting some vibrancy there. I'm loving this orange on top of the deep red, magenta red. Really vibrant and lovely. Yeah, I'm liking it at this stage, definitely. I don't like the purple circle. That bothers me. And I'm not sure about the orange messy bit underneath at the bottom, or the orange coming through in the middle of the blue, what was the stream of water. So I feel an urge to add something to those areas. I can't explain it. When you feel an urge, it's that intuitive painting thing. You just feel it. You just think, no, that doesn't belong there. And now I'm thinking it about the big Hattie Fattener at the bottom, big splodge of Moominland that there was no call for at all. But for some reason, I had an urge to put it there. And it does look like the Groke or something from Moominland moving away from the picture. And I think, yes, it should move away. So now that bothers me and I have to wait for it to dry before I can do something with it. But I'm loving the hot colour harmonious areas of splodge. And I like the fact there's still some blue showing through. But I don't like the big purple circle or the orange circle or the big blob of pale pink that I've just added, which is a shame. It's changing. You can see it, you can feel it changing in mood, in tone. Suddenly it's going dark. And I still quite like it at this stage. I'm liking the contrast. Sometimes you wish you'd left a painting at an earlier stage, but it's a journey, it's an exploration. And it's good to see where it goes. It's like creating a character when you're writing. I don't know if you're right, I write. When you're creating a character, and sometimes the character goes off on a journey on its own. You're thinking, no, stop that, you're not supposed to go there. But it does. It has a voice of its own suddenly. And you think, oh, okay, that's what you want to say and do. Right, okay, off you go, do it then. And it's the strangest feeling when suddenly your art or your creation takes over and you're not necessarily as involved as you thought you were. And the character in the book goes off on adventures and your painting does the same. So I'm still bothered about the purple circle and the big pink blob at the bottom. I don't like those two aspects. Everything else I'm happy with. I love the vibrancy. So I'm getting down into smaller detail now, picking small areas to do tiny changes to rather than a big grand sweep across it. Yes, it's all fingers. I've reverted back to a child. There's always that point in my paintings. It's like, I'm going to stick my fingers in this. And I couldn't be happier. There's so much going on at the moment in the world that was really bothering me. And it's seeping in. It seeps into your brain. And I'm reading about all this stuff. And I'm looking at all this stuff. And I'm just thinking, good God. And my brain's screaming inside. But everything's harmonious in the painting. Every now and again a little bit of darkness creeps in, like Johnny in the Fast Show. Paint it black. But I lean towards the vibrancy and the harmonious. Now I wish I hadn't done this. I liked the yellow and suddenly I'm altering it, and I think this changes the mood of the painting. I think I should have left the yellow where it was. So, and it's the purple and the pink at the bottom that I need to concentrate on. I just feel that those are wrong. Still quite liking it though, but the bit that glares out to me is the purple circle and the pink. It's wrong, it doesn't fit in, it's not harmonious with the rest. I sometimes wonder when people look at my paintings, if anybody ever does, I wonder what they feel when they look at it, and I wonder if it's the same kind of feelings and emotions that I feel, or do they get something completely different from it? I wish I could know their thoughts. It's like when I read a novel, if it's a famous novel, I'll sometimes talk to someone about it and I'll think, oh, you got that from it? You got that from it? At the moment, I'm reading To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, and I read it when I was at school, when I was at college, sorry, doing my A-levels, and loved it, and it made a big impression on me. And I remember one bit where Mr. Ramsay, her husband, kicks a rock, and he's thinking about his work and how important it all is, And then he kicks a rock and realises that that rock will not only outlive him, but it will outlive Shakespeare as well. And that we're all quite, meaningless on this earth. And our work isn't that important. It's only important to us and to a very few people who view it and gain something from it. But mostly it's for us. And that we need to just participate in life and not worry about what people will think about our work, how people will view it, because we have no control over that. We've just got to hope that somebody somewhere will view it and think, yes, about some aspect of it. I'm moving to the Jurassic Coast, which is in Dorset, on the very bottom edge of the country. And if you just do a line straight down the middle of England, the very farthest point at the bottom, that's where I'm moving to. And I couldn't be happier about that. You can see the sea. If you walk out of the house, turn left, and keep walking for an hour, you'll see the sea. If you keep walking for an hour and a half, you'll be in the sea. It's very hilly. It's up and down. I'm using the back end of a paintbrush here to score into the paint. Now, that's it dried. It's lost some of its vibrancy. It's always far more vibrant when it's wet. But you can use varnish to bring some of that vibrancy back. Now, I don't think it's quite finished. I think the upper left corner and the left side don't seem right. But I do like the vibrancy of those red-orange shapes against the blue. But in Dorset, when I walk along the headlands and the beaches, there are fossils everywhere. It's Jurassic. It's the Jurassic Coast. And there are parts. You could find a dinosaur if you look carefully enough, but never found a dinosaur. I found a belemnite, lots of belemnites, lots of ammonites, and I love them. And when I make my pottery, I take some of the soft black rock from Seatown, and I sprinkle it into my glazes and into my clay and bring some of the Jurassic Coast into the home. See, now I'm very carefully. When I started off, I was much more loose with my mark making and scribbling around, and now I'm very carefully thinking about the placement of these colours. I'm liking this contrast. This is what it needed. It needed some contrasting colours against the pale pinks and against the vivid oranges. And this is pleasing me when I do this. My brain just thinks, yes, that's right. It's like choosing a word in a poem to describe something, and suddenly you think, yes, that's the word, that's the description that I want. And this is, I find painting the same. It's like poetry. It's like placing that word just there. And that word could perhaps mean a bird, or it could mean freedom. It could symbolize something completely different. And the same with the shapes and the colours. They could symbolize something. That could be a path through life with the broiling underbelly of the world going on behind. It could be a volcano. It could be about time itself, about the creation of the world. It could be about war and strife and humanity and everything that's happening at the moment. It could be about shock and awe. Or it could be something smaller. It doesn't have to be this huge, big picture. And again, that's where a title comes in. The title that we choose for our work could affect the way someone views it. If, for instance, I gave this a title of Gaza, then the colours and the placement of those colours could mean something very different to if I called it Charmouth Beach. And the emotions that are invoked with those words can be very strong. So I think we have to be careful of our placement of colours, and we have to be careful of our choice of titles, because somewhere people might view our work and be affected by it. I went to see an art exhibition of one of my old students. I used to be an art teacher, GCSE and A-level, and a teacher of adults as well. And one of my A-level students, who is now at college, has just done her show, and I went to see it, and it's fabulous. And I really took note of the titles, because I think how people present their work in installation form or on the walls, how they light it, the colours they choose, the titles and descriptions, or sometimes there are no descriptions. That's all important. It's all important about speaking to the viewer. The language they choose, either visual language or spoken, written language, verbal, it's all important. They're communicating a message. And sometimes it's just for us, like writing a diary. Sometimes a piece of art is just for us, and we don't want to share it, and we keep it, and it's in the cupboard or on the wall just for us to see, the same way that an unpublished poem. So here's like my little poem. It's almost coming to an end. When I finished it, I washed it. I took it to the tap and washed it. And I washed some of the top layer of colour off. I just wiped it across with my hand in the water and washed it. And I let it reveal the colours beneath. And that's the final picture with the colours beneath revealed. There we go. That's the end of my painting.